championship. Wait, we got a dream next to the team. Yeah, we can handle it. Wait, soon as I go and I step in arenas, they call me the champ. They know what it is, know what I do, know who I am, who don't understand. Yeah, that's overdue. My trophy say that's overdue. My ring should be immortalized. Yeah, they know it's true. They couldn't walk a mile or even fit into my shoes. Still, I got a lot to prove, but for all that we've been through, this overdue. This the anthem. Pull up and you know the team is strong. This your anthem. All my underdogs. Everybody get your hands up. Times was hard, but we made it through. We were struggling for a minute, so that winning overdue. Yeah, they know it's true. Ay, give me the chip, I need the championship. Wait, we got a dream next to the team. Yeah, we can handle it. Wait, soon as I go and I step in arenas, they call me the champ. They know what it is, know what I do, know who I am, who don't understand. Yeah, that's overdue. My trophy say that's overdue.
I like that. That pops. I gotta figure out a way to keep that, but YouTube might not let me. What is going on, everybody? Happy Victory Monday. The 49ers snap a 3-game losing streak, and they keep their playoff hopes alive, at least for this week, with a massive drubbing of the Chicago Bears, 38-10. How is everybody feeling? I'm trying to keep this in perspective because it was the Bears, and the Bears are a really bad team. But at the same time, I feel like with the victory is a victory is a victory. And people said that about the Bills last week. You know, we were down, we were hurting, we were injured, but the Bills still took care of business, and it counted still in the win column. So how's everybody feeling after yesterday?
Enjoying it. Listen, it was going into the game, right? Niners are 5-7, Bears are 4-8. So any way you want to slice it, Niners hurt down near all that stuff. The Bears were a team on their level, right? One game apart. Like, you are what your record says you are. The Niners dominated that team, the game from beginning to end. There was no let up. Yeah, the Bears came back, down 24-0, scored a touchdown with their first drive of the second half, 24-6, but never made it a game. So that was San Francisco's first complete game of the season. Or if you want to say, maybe week 1 against the Jets was a complete game too. But if you want to say that, it's been 11 weeks in between complete games for this team. There's been a whole lot of injuries and a whole lot of reasons why. But this was a game that, I predicted they were going to win by like a touchdown. I don't think anybody saw a blowout coming, right? And there was a lot of people, I made a note, or I'm taking receipts, like Robert Saleh, people on NFL Network. I think out of 12 of them, like 7 or 8 of them took the Bears. And I'm certainly not a homer. I'm thinking, where do the Bears have an advantage in this game going in that you would have 7 or 8 experts taking them at home? That was just very, very odd. Felt like the Niners were the safe bet, even dropping the 4 points, but to win by 25, they're making it interesting for us for this week and Thursday night with Los Angeles to keep those slim playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, I think, going in this game, I didn't know if it was going to be super close or we were going to even lose, because here's the thing, the Bears do stink, but the fact that we've been blown out by 2 good teams recently really, puts your team in a bad mood, and that can be hard to come back from. So I'm happy we won that good, because that looked like the 2023 Niners. We had at least 4 games last year where we destroyed teams like that. So I was very happy to see our defense did way better. 2 yards in the first half. That was awesome to see from the Bears. The Bears were just getting stopped everywhere. Getting pressure on the quarterback again looked great, so I'm very twisted in this whole situation we're in, because it's like, okay, we're going to go for the playoffs and put a lot of players in that have been injured and maybe get injured again, or keep them out and then just focus on next season. So I'm still kind of torn, because yes, of course I want the Niners to do good, but I'm praying there's no more injuries, because Guerrero going down now. Now we're down to Patrick Taylor. It's like it's getting worse and worse. So I'm very happy we just destroyed the Bears, but just please no more injuries.
Yeah, like I said off screen before James or before Al joined us, before we went live, I said that I'm twisted because I keep thinking like it's one of those things where like if you just are really bad and you lose out and you just don't compete anymore, at least going into the off season, you are clear on what direction and what changes need to be done. And I feel like with every victory, this is just my own personal worry. With every victory, I feel like the problems that we think, or at least we assume that need to happen in the offseason, the changes, there's going to be some reason where, we're going to look at the end of this season and be like, maybe we don't need to make as many changes as we think going into the offseason. I get that worry personally. Go ahead, Al. What do you want to say?
No. I'm with you, but I, on my podcast actually I did it last night. Give a nod to the defense. Defense came to play, right? James said it. Dominant first half. Bears had a marginally better second half, but still had under 170 total yards of offense. But I did start off by saying, listen, as good as the defense looked, even if the next 4 games look like this, Sorensen's got to go. Like, I don't care about a 5-game sample at the end of the season when the 12 games before that were very disturbing, and Sorensen wasn't Kyle's first choice. He was probably 3rd or 4th. And if Ulbrich was your first choice, I know the Jets aren't looking good. They blew it to the Dolphins, and the defense hasn't looked great. I'd rather go, again, not an in-house person, bring somebody else in. And just quickly, since we're talking about the whole changes thing, if we didn't think Brian Schneider was gone before, whatever the hell he told Jake Moody to do twice and not get the ball in the landing. So now, listen, we can give him the benefit of the doubt, and maybe Moody just missed those kicks. But for me, like, if I had to bet money on it, that was a coaching thing that he was told to try to get it in the landing zone, and he missed. And then that's like a dual blame type thing. But why would you ask a kicker who can blast it deep into the end zone or out of the end zone every kick to even try that? It happened again. What was it? Was it last night's game? The Chargers game and the Chiefs. So I think Cameron Dicker did the same thing. Why mess around with it? Just, if you have the leg, just kick it into the end zone. So, Brian Schneider was gone well before that. And if that was a coached choice or decision, get his ass out of here.
Yeah. And we also have another perspective of this. It could be a good thing we won right now because we could be on a hot streak and you could carry that into the playoffs. That has happened before when players or teams, they get hot at the right time and they just kill it. It does happen. I can't think of a team right now that has done that, but there has been a few teams, that just come out of left field. The last few games they win, and then they're straight into the playoffs, beating good teams. So that could be us too, getting all these players back. Trent Williams. I think Hufanga brings a presence, which I like. I don't think he's the greatest safety, but he brings a presence that we need. It's that hit mentality. He brings that. He's that mentality.
He's a playmaker. He can cause turnovers. That's something we've been lacking.
Exactly. So it's like we need that. So, and then Greenlaw, I just keep saying, don't get injured. That's the whole thing I'm worried about.
My props is to Purdy. I think Purdy played amazing yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
He even took a pretty dirty late hit and was able to come back into the game. Everybody can be honest with the fact that Brock's not an elite guy, right? He's not. Josh Allen is on another realm, on another planet with what he's able to do with the throwing the ball and running the ball, and just he's that much of a threat. But to say Brock doesn't belong or that the Niners need to get themselves a new quarterback going into next year, I think Brock looked nothing short of amazing yesterday. Again, we got to put it in perspective. It was against the Chicago Bears, but apparently they had a really good ranked defense coming into this game. Yeah. They were good in a lot of statistical categories, and the 49ers essentially did whatever they wanted to do up and down the field all game. And a lot of it was on Brock's hands. Now, does Brock look always sexy when he's doing it? No. We were talking about how people like to pick apart things, and we'll pick apart, he should have put more mustard on this throw, or if he just puts a little more on it, it's a touchdown, yada, yada, yada. But the fact of the matter is Brock looked more like Brock Purdy than he's ever looked this season. And I think he answered a lot of questions. As far as, I don't really want to go too much into the defense. I think the defense will be closer to what they really are when we see the Rams. I don't think they're as good as what we saw yesterday. And I think people have to put that in their brain that what we saw yesterday, I think, is a little bit more of a testament of just how bad and inept Chicago is at protecting the quarterback, and just how slow of a process or an inability to make things happen quickly that Caleb Williams is at this point in his career.
Well, yeah,
So
he's the most sacked quarterback, so it just shows that.
Yeah, and the Niners got to him 6 times. I think one of them was actually the result of a 5-man rush. So I mean, listen, the defense came to play, but it just goes to show how overmatched the interim head coach is. He wasn't even close to being the OC to start the season. They had multiple firings. Eberflus gets fired. You usually expect when that happens, like with the Raiders last year when McDaniels got canned, and Pierce took over, there was like that energy, that boost, like they came to play for the new interim head coach. And you thought that might happen a little bit with Chicago, and the guy was a bad OC, and he's even worse interim head coach, still also trying to be an OC. Like, I totally agree with you that Aaron, the way that they looked yesterday is probably an outlier because the Bears are trash. Bears have lost 7 in a row. Granted, their last 3 were division games against Green Bay, Minnesota, and Detroit, and they were all 1-score games. And they might have beaten Detroit if Eberflus didn't have that mega brain fart, at the end. So division games are always a coin flip. You know each other so well. But I think people thought the Bears were better than they actually are based on their last 3 games sample, but they lost 3 other games prior to that anyway. So bad team, but the Niners didn't squeak by a bad team. They just absolutely stomped them. So hopefully this is a springboard into something better than what we've seen the past, 11 weeks prior to this. But I mean, naturally the Rams beat the Bills, right? Bills look like world beaters in the snow. They beat the Chiefs. They go to Los Angeles, and it's like an 80-point shootout. So I don't know what to expect on Thursday, honestly. But at least it's a game that's meaningful. So at least we can start there. A meaningful game that if the Niners lose, they're literally out. And if they win, they still need a lot of help.
Yeah, the Niners, if they win out, they have a 59% chance to make the playoffs. And if they there's a different combination of wins and losses, but it drops like into the teens, I think. Not even to the teens, into the tens. Some of them were like 2%, 3%, you know what I mean? Yeah. But if you win out, you go up to 59%. I think the Niners, essentially what they are right now, is a team that can play spoiler. Mm-hmm. They were get into the playoffs. I saw Larry Krueger. I saw a little tidbit of, must have been his show today or yesterday, where he thinks that nobody wants to play the Niners if they make it into the playoffs. I'm kind of so on that one a little bit. Nah. I think the Niners are not what they've been in the past, so I don't think people fear us like that. Or leak. I'll put it this way: if it comes to a point where we know there is no chance, yeah, you play spoiler and you try to screw over as many people on your way down as you possibly can. But the only focus the Niners should be worried about right now is playing the Rams on Thursday. They're both on a short week. The Niners are at home. A division game they're always crazy. Like I said, I think the Niners defense is going to be a lot closer to what we saw maybe like in the Seattle game before the 2 blowouts on the road. But I mean, look, the Niners beat on a pretty bad team. The Niners aren't a great team this year, and I think we'll get a closer. We'll get the closer. What am I trying to say? What we are is what we'll be when we play the Rams. I think it'll be a closer of the team that we actually are at this point in the season. Because that Bears game, I mean, the Bears are really bad, and the Niners took care of what they had to do and got it done. But people need to pump the brakes big time, because that was, I mean, the Bears suck, and the Niners whooped their ass straight up.
No, yeah. I think we're all of that mindset, and I don't think the fandom, especially if Twitter or X, is any representative platform for that. I don't think anyone's pounding their chests over the Bears. I think, if anything, it's given, not that it's given people more ammunition to be, whiny and complain about stuff, but I think they're seeing the Bears for what people are seeing the Bears for what they are. And it's like, well, wake me up when they do this against a good team. They still haven't beaten a team with a winning record, right? So, I mean, I think the Twitter trolls and the people that are looking for stuff to complain about are still finding it, even in a flawless performance. I mean, Brock started 18 for 18 or something. He had a perfect passer rating for a large portion of the game. Played extremely well. Wasn't asked to do a ton with his legs. Did escape a bit on his 5 rushes, but I think it was just surprising how bad the Bears looked overall and how much the Niners dominated their defense, still missing their top 2 running backs, their number 1 receiver. You know, Brock didn't play against Green Bay, didn't look good against Buffalo. What were you going to get there? At least that's what the Brock haters and the Cone Clown clique were going to try to sell people. I think offensively, this is what we've been waiting for all season, and for a variety of reasons, mainly injury and just different permutations of the offense. They haven't been able to see it. And if the Bears were a bottom 5 pass defense, I'd say, all right, everybody, let's not go nuts. But they were like a top 10, top 8 unit, and they have a decent enough they're a decent enough defense, middling, but pass defense is pretty good. But the Niners whooped them every which way. This wasn't a but you beat him because you got a lucky turnover, or but you beat him because there was a pick 6. And it was a thorough drubbing. But the haters still going to hate, and that's okay. Can't change their mind.
This was a psychological. I mean, I didn't watch the post game stuff because I'm not really into celebrating wins that like they're one win. If they lose, they're out of the playoffs kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't going to watch the post game stuff. The Dub City stuff that Fred Warner does. It's like I don't need to see any of that. But for them, it was psychologically they needed that because it's been a long couple of weeks. I feel like that Seattle loss really deflated them going on the road, psychologically. And then, you go into that Buffalo game, and then the conditions where they were, and then you start finding out what happened with Trent, his child, and you start kind of almost being like, who gives about football at this point? Like, because that's the mindset I was after the Bills game. I'm like, I'm ready for the season to be over. I mean, there's been so many things going on with this team that are so not about football that I just wanted to flush this season, and then we'll see you guys in July next year. And I know that sucks. You've brought it up, Al, that people got to realize, if they want the Niners season to end, they ain't going to see nothing for about another, 10 months, 9 months. So be careful what you ask for. So that's kind of where my mindset was after yesterday's game is let's enjoy this until we can't enjoy it anymore.
Well, here's the good thing. Oh, go ahead, James. But here's the good thing. Our rookies have stepped up so much this last few games. I mean, even what's really surprising to me is the offensive line. Jalen Moore usually was horrible before this season when he backed up Trent Williams. He's playing out of his mind right now.
That's crazy.
And, it's like Ben Barch was doing good. He got hurt. But I saw Spencer Buford go in, and I almost had a heart attack. But, our offensive line, Burford, our offensive line is playing great, and you could see it in that last game. But yet again, like you said, Aaron, it's against the Bears. So, the thing about the Rams, we barely lost that last game against them, but we had a totally different team. There was a lot more guys, not a lot more, but there's a few more guys on the team that aren't now. And their defensive line isn't too bad. So we got to watch out for that, because if Purdy's under pressure the whole game, like he has been a lot of this season, even though our offensive line is graded great, I don't care about the stats and all the grades of the offensive line. If your quarterback is under pressure, he's usually not going to do that great, and that's what we got to look out for is, these young rookies the Rams got on the defensive line. They bring the pressure, and we better be ready for that, because they get any momentum at all, and it just goes downhill. We've seen that with Rams games before, but we have a lot to look forward to with these rookies, though. I'm very excited about it, because I mean, Renardo Green is playing like a veteran. He's playing pretty damn good, and Garendo unfortunately got hurt, but he's playing great. Pearsall, I think, could do more, but his opportunities are here and there. He gets a open pass that he drops at Buffalo, and then he gets a pass that they didn't communicate well on. So it is what it is.
I think, and it is exciting even in the next 4 weeks. I mean, if the Niners lose to the Rams, it's over and we can just, look at the last 3 weeks of, okay, who are the young players that are going to get playing time? And as old as people say the Niners roster are, and they do have a handful of players that are 30 plus, and who knows how many are going to be back or not. But it's just exciting to see like what the young core could be, whether it's Dominic Puny, it's Malik Mustafa, it's Renardo Green, Garendo looked good. And it's, you're hesitant to get excited about him because when everybody's healthy, no one touches the ball but McCaffrey anyway. And if Mason resigns, is Garendo third, and then he just gets buried. So, but it was exciting to see him excel. And I mean, I had him on my fantasy. I picked him up purposely, outbid everybody, just to be like, more or less like an FU, because I didn't think I was going to make the playoffs, but now I think I might sneak in because of how many points my team's putting up, which is awesome. D Winters, it's not even just the rookies, like second-year players. Evan Anderson, an undrafted rookie free agent, might be part of the D tackle rotation moving forward. I mean, there's some good young players that, may be part of the cornerstone as if a Greenlaw goes, if a Hufanga goes, if a Ward goes, if a Debo goes. Like there's other players that could take up that talent and maybe leadership mantle. Yeah, we still don't know what Pearsall is yet. We still don't know what Cowing is yet, at least as a receiver, but they a lot more hits than misses this draft class. And again, I keep saying if they have 9 picks and they hit on 4 or 5 of them, just hit on half in April, plus some free agents, they're going to turn from one of the oldest teams in the league to maybe not one of the youngest, but much younger, much faster, hopefully healthier, if that is even a possibility. So again, everyone says, oh, the Niners window's closed. For this year, it is 100%. But if they bottom out, give me a 4th place schedule, give me another good draft, give me all these stars coming back from injuries, and I'll put my money on them versus anybody else in the NFC in 2025. Because Ben Johnson will be gone, and then what's Detroit without Ben Johnson? We'll see.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I was telling my brother, I said that Detroit has to win it this year because they could lose, a bunch of coordinators, especially Ben Johnson, that, that's the guy that everybody thinks is going to, we need to get rid of Kyle. We need to fire Kyle, the old, the Cone Click chatter. We got to fire everybody. According to Grant Cone, we got to get rid of Purdy. We got to get rid of Shanahan because, replacing coaches has always been a strong part of the 49ers front office in the last, 25 years or so. So the report that happened, I want to kind of talk about that, is they asked Kyle about the report that he's going to Chicago and trading Chicago. And Kyle's like, I don't want to go anywhere but here. My family loves it here. Yep. And he's like, and the only way he's going somewhere is
to go to Chicago.
Because people, it's been a narrative that people have been pushing all year that Kyle is not long for the 49ers job and he's not good enough to get the Niners over the hump and that the Niners need to move on from him. And, Ben Johnson seems to be like the popular name that he's just going to come in here and he's going to win us a Super Bowl. And then we're going to look back and say, wow, that was our, the turning point in our franchise. But I just don't think that's going to happen. Kyle's not going anywhere. The front office isn't getting rid of him. John Lynch isn't going anywhere either. They'll be back next year. So for anybody who's been pushing that narrative, wait another season or something. I don't know.
Jed York knows that he fell into crap twice. Once with Harbaugh, who was coaching up the road at Stanford. That was an easy get, but he got him. And then Shanahan, ties with his father being the offensive coordinator, ties to the franchise. And that was not like Kyle was begging to be the head coach, but it kind of fell into Jed's lap. And is it really a report if a moron on social media has a musing about, well, what if the Niners traded Kyle the week that they're playing the Bears, who have no head coach because Eberflus got fired? Like, it's not a report if you're basing it off of conjecture based on a social media idiot. It's not like journalists needing 2 or 3 credible sources about Juan Soto signing with the Mets or whatever it may be. These things take on a life of their own and snowball because idiots talk about it online and make it a thing when it's not a thing. Yeah. I'm a nobody. I could say anything like, oh, Taylor Swift or looked at me when she was in it's just so nonsensical stuff that it's a shame that, Kyle had to answer it beforehand. Kyle had to answer it a couple days before. I'm sorry, not Kyle. John had to answer it a couple days before, and he gave the answer, and he couldn't give it any other way, right? I mean, he said it was laughable, but he gave the answer that any GM gives when a coach is on the hot seat and gives them the vote of confidence, and 3 weeks later they fire the coach. But John Lynch couldn't say anything else other than we love Kyle, we don't want him to go, it's laughable, etc. Like but it just felt like, God, I've heard that before from every other GM when a coach is actually on the hot seat, because John Lynch literally can't say anything else. Yeah, Kyle's not going anywhere, and it was just so funny that this was literally fabricated out of nothing. And, media, God bless them. At least the one thing I'll give Grant Cohn is he is the a-hole that asks at least the hard questions. He doesn't ask these softball things, but I don't even know who was the moron that actually had to address. Kyle, would you like to address the rumors that wasn't a rumor, dude? It was started by a moron online.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time. Waste of time. I mean, I don't know why we're talking about that. It's just like, it's just people trying to get clout. That's all it is.
100%.
Yeah. Well, I just think that it was good that they got it out in front of it and talked about it. I just think that there's been so much going on this season. I'm shocked that Kyle handled with it as much class and dignity as he did, just going based on just how bad things have been. And, a lot of us just want this season to end because it's just been so much non-football stuff that's gone on. I know a lot of people are, big to get on Ricky Pearsall this season, and he's not in my crosshairs yet. I'm giving him a huge pass in this particular at this particular time, just for the simple fact that he almost died from a gunshot to the chest in September, late August, I forget. So I will reserve judgment on the young man until I get to see him in another training camp, and maybe, yesterday Brock took accountability of the play that he supposedly didn't lead him enough. He didn't put enough air under it, yada, yada, yada. Translate it to he ran the wrong route and they had a miscommunication and he missed him. That's really what happened. But he, as the true leader that he is, and I want to get to one of the things that we heard about on Saturday night, Brock and Diamador Lenore were asked to speak to the team on Saturday. They had a big, massive team meeting, and just a lot of stuff apparently must have been said. Brock, to me, is becoming more and more of a true captain on this team and a true leader. And not counting the physical stuff that, some people like to get on him for because he lacks, the required arm strength or size that most real quarterbacks or elite quarterbacks have. When it comes to up here and what he does mentally and what he is as a professional and a leader in the locker room, no one better. So I'm all on the Brock Purdy train. Yeah. Nice to see someone like Demo. Sometimes these guys get paid and they disappear. So it was good to hear about him being part of that too. They could listen, they still could lose on Sunday, and then, the season is essentially donezo. But it was nice to see that they actually give two shits about everything that's going on right now and that they care. And they're not just, waiting to collect their paycheck and go take a vacation when the season ends. So
I wish they did that earlier, though, right? Like, I mean, they could have done that.
I was thinking the same. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
They could have done that speech before the Green Bay game, and the Bills game wouldn't have mattered, right? But maybe before the Seattle game, it might have had a different outcome. Like they saved it. It almost feels like, in a way, and I think you guys, I'm sure, heard like George Kittle spoke after the game about it was all about desperation, playing desperate. And he's like, I'm not saying guys are taking plays off, but you got to play with. It's go time now. Like, there has to be they keep using the word urgency and desperation. And they came out like their hair was on fire, which was great, but there should have been urgency in week 1, right? If you want to be this revenge tour and run it back and whatever, then you got to come out week 1, week 2, week 3, especially when you have teams down 10, 14 points in the second half of the fourth quarter, and not give it away. And, they're not going to go 17-0, but the way they fell apart and collapsed late, how many times do you have to do that before you keep saying we have to play with more urgency? Did they just luck out and they had a speech before playing the friggin' Bears? Like, they could have had that speech. If they had saved that speech till next week against the Rams, I'm sure they don't beat the Rams, or Thursday. They don't beat the Rams by 25. So it was a nice time and a nice opponent to make that speech for. But yeah, if they had done it maybe against Seattle 3 weeks prior,
Yeah.
their playoff hopes might look a little bit different.
Yeah, and the Niners, yeah, they should have did it way earlier. And what I love about Brock Purdy is he takes responsibility for himself and what he does. I watched a video.
So unlike Jimmy
Um,
Garoppolo when he was here.
Yeah, I watched a
Yep.
video on it was Aaron Rodgers talking after the game and Josh Allen. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it was basically Josh Allen, hey, I could have done this, I could have done that. Losing by 2 points, and he's still saying, I could have done this, I could have done that. And Aaron Rodgers is like, well, I threw this down the red line, and the guy didn't go down the red line, and blaming all the wide receivers for everything. Now that is not a leader. You do not take your shots at your wide receivers and expect to do good, because Rodgers hasn't done good at all, and it shows because he's blaming everybody but himself, even though he's ass. So the fact that Brock Purdy, every single game I've seen, he takes responsibility for something is great, because you need a guy like that that's gonna put his team on his back and say, hey, like we gotta regroup, we gotta show what we're gonna do, and we're a better team than this, and we are, even though we're injured up the wazoo. This is probably the worst season of all time for any team, with injuries and gunshots and babies dying. I mean, we are still a better team than what we've been playing like. And I think Purdy, I don't know exactly everything that was said there, but I bet Purdy said something like that, because we got stars on our team still. Kittle is just an amazing guy too, because he shows up every single game. I mean, we could be going 2-14 and that guy would still be killing it, because he loves football. He loves being a football player. And
What a
those
difference
two
between
guys,
him and a guy like
yeah,
Debo.
yeah,
It's night and day.
Yeah, Debo and him are opposites. Debo only cares about himself, and we'll get to that too. But
Oh yeah.
it's just, yeah, I guess we can get to that. I mean, I don't know. It's brewing.
Yeah, it's brewing. So you guys know that there was a couple tweets after the game yesterday where pretty much Debo said that his production isn't his fault and that he's just not getting the ball. And then he attacked fans for pretty much, I don't know, saying that he was going after his teammates, and he pretty much said he wasn't. I don't know, man. I'm of the mindset of the type of year we've been having and the type of stuff that's been going on. I feel like social media is not a good place for Debo to be right now.
No.
I feel like he should be anywhere but on social media or doing podcast. Cause dude, you look cooked, man. You look like there's a difference between you and George Kittle, and it's like night and day. George, man, you watched the game yesterday, man. And, Kittle is as beat up as anybody on this team, and the acceleration that he gets when he makes plays and how he's able to fight guys and get downfield and all that. Same thing with Jawan Jennings. I mean, what a difference between those two guys and then a guy like Debo Samuel, who seems like he wastes more time doing things that are not important to the success of the football team than actually concentrating on his profession. And then he's going to blame his lack of production for lack of touches. And I mean, dude, I'm sorry, but you're getting the touches. You're just not doing anything with those opportunities. You look slow. I mean, you can't run. You can't run routes.
He doesn't run straight.
You don't catch when you get the ball. I mean, all these things are happening. All these opportunities are being presented towards you, and you're failing consistently over and over and over again. And then to kind of be that dude who's going to go on social media and low key kind of bash your coach or your quarterback because you're not getting the ball, you're not seeing the ball. I just think that's freaking weak sauce, personally.
He's averaged what, like 2 catches the past 3 or 4 games. Like of course he had to be one of the running backs yesterday because Guerrero wound up getting hurt and they brought back Keyshawn Vaughn. So Debo wound up getting 5 carries, which to me is becoming problematic because when they line Debo up in the backfield,
he's getting it.
Keying on it. They know he's getting it. Like it's not even there's no deception anymore. If you're going to put Debo in the backfield, and you have to put, if Guerrero's healthy or Taylor or when McCaffrey, like you have to flank him with somebody else to have some sort of mystery as to what's happening. So Debo, I don't think Shanahan's doing any favors for Debo in terms of the running game. The passing game, you don't see him getting the separation that even a Jawan Jennings gets. And I would like to think
Jennings
even at
is
this point in their
slow.
careers,
I know.
Debo's faster than Jennings. Like I would
Right.
still like to think in a foot
Yeah.
race, Debo's going to win, but maybe he's not getting in and out of breaks as quickly. The Debo thing is turning into a real enigma for me as we wind up the season and seeing if he's going to end up on the roster in 2025. I don't know if we talked about it last Monday with Mayoko coming out and saying he thinks that Debo is going to be on the roster in 2025.
I saw that.
Which I can see because of Ayuk's injury, and Ayuk's probably not going to be even ready to play until maybe beginning mid-October. So do you keep Debo as insurance? Then do you trade him when Ayuk comes back? Do you still trade him in the off season? It's going to be just come very interesting, but he will never get close to replicating his contract year stats. He's never going to be even probably a 1,300 yard combined receiver probably at any point in his career anymore. And I think Kyle just needs to figure out what they need to do with him and with that, either for 1 year or just move on from him, because they are definitely not going to extend him. They got to extend Juwan. Juwan's under contract for 2025, but if they can get him in as a reasonable rate and extend him another 2 years, that should be the priority versus, figuring out what to do with Debo long term.
Yeah, Kittle and Juwan need to get extended yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, the two of them, I've been highly critical of Kittle in the past because of just his injuries and lack of, missing games and this, that, and the other. But wow.
Yeah,
he has humbled me beyond, and I'm fine with that. He shut me up because I've been down on Kittle in previous years, thinking of maybe he's seen his better days and whatever, and he just has did nothing the last 2 seasons but just ball out and be the go-to guy on this offense every single time when the Niners need a big catch.
I remember us talking about it, Aaron. You're like, I don't really like Kittle. He's a showboat on the, the TV and stuff. But
it was like he's a brand. He's a brand.
I always loved the guy, but
I'm sick of his brand. I want him to perform on the football field, and then
look
he
at him
just
now. He's
look at him, right?
Ends, He's one of the best tight ends. I think he just passed Antonio Gates for the most over 100-yard games. I think it was. I can't remember, but. He's one of the best tight ends of all time. It's just, I was telling one of my friends, they're making this is a side note, but they're making the argument that, these players wouldn't be anything without Shanahan, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, you have a point because Shanahan's a great coach, but at the other side of it, look at the catches Kittle makes. There's not many tight ends that make the same catches, off the fingertips in the playoffs and on the sideline, tiptoe. I mean, he looks like a freaking wide receiver out there, and he is unbelievable. I mean, he can do everything: block, catch, he'd run. He just does everything. So, but back to the Debo thing. Personally, I would trade him for freaking Tutu Atwell at this point because he would have a better attitude than Debo. I'm so sick of Debo because. I love Debo coming up, out of the draft. He was a great player, blah, blah, blah. He played hard nose, but as he's, getting older, he's really shown his real colors, which is his true colors, because he's a jerk. He's a diva. He's a huge diva, and it's pissing me off because it's like, dude, what have you done to bitch about your play? Because you haven't played shit. I mean, when he gets the ball, it pisses me off because he's one of those players that can run. He's fast. But what does he do? He catches the ball. He tries to juke like 5 people, even though he knows he's not gonna. Bro, just run forward.
That's what everybody on social media has been saying.
Run forward. It's like, dude, you're juking nobody. You're not like getting away from anything. For him to bitch about his touches, it's ridiculous. And everybody's like, oh, change his number back to 19. He'll do better. It's like, no, he won't. He's cooked. He's not the wide receiver he used to be because his attitude's poor. He's blaming everybody else. And he's always been a diva, but not this bad. He's just, I think the social media, I think you're right, Aaron. I think the social media is kind of getting in his head.
Off social media, stop podcasting. Just let it all go.
It gets in your head when you're a player, I'm going to confess this, but I it's kind of childish, but I was really pissed off after the Green Bay game. And, I know he's not going to even see this, but I went into Debo. I texted him on Instagram, DM'd him on Instagram. I was like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not going to say everything I said, but I hope he saw it because he needs to see that shit.
I think he does see it. He's blocked me on social media too.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it is
whatever.
what it is.
We need to get rid of him. I'm sorry. He did great for us, but I'd rather have a wide receiver, even if he was a 6th round pick, that has a better attitude than him, because I think he'd do better than Debo at this point.
I wish Cowing and Pearsall had shown more this year, because that would have made that decision easy in the offseason. Yeah. But you're right, Al, with Debo here, or with Ayuk possibly not coming back right away, and with that whole situation, I feel like the Niners offensively are going to look very similar next year to what they do this year.
I mean, and Kyle might have to make the decision of, are the starting receivers next year to start the season Pearsall and Jennings, and you make Debo the slot or Debo the gadget guy? I mean, he has to work to scheme to get Debo open, right? Like all the horizontal throws, the tunnel screens, the bubble screens, the reverses, the handoffs, they're not working. They're not gaining the chunk plays, the chunk yards that they have in the past. And those should be easy gimme yards for any offense, right? A screen, a quick throw, something. Those should be, no matter who you're targeting or throwing to, those should be a quick, easy 4, 5, 6, 7 or more yards. And Debo's not even getting them. Now, whether defenses and coordinators are keying on it, or just the offense is still out of sync a little bit, whatever it may be, but he is not an outside receiver. Pearsall, that would be a tremendous ask for him, unless he has a nice 4-game end to the season, training camp, preseason, all that good stuff leading up into next year. But if Debo's on the roster in 2025, I think Shanahan really has to figure out, where do I put him? Is he a 75% snap player? Is he 50%? Like at the expense of someone else who can actually get open? Do you sacrifice that route and put Debo on the field? I think it's going to be really interesting. Now, maybe he comes back in even better shape, because again, if Debo stays, it's a contract year again, guys. So even if Debo's not on the team in 2026, maybe we want to keep Debo, or Kyle, whatever, wants to get one more year out of Debo, knowing he's going to bust his ass for that next bag, because that next bag is the last bag.
Yeah.
So you may be getting a better Debo next year, and it happens in every sport, right? Contract year, people go nuts. Years after, they revert to form.
Yep.
What's I want to transition over to defense, but two players. The return of Huff, even an injured Huff looks like he's better than a healthy Jair Brown, and that's sad. But Huff has his minuses to his game, just like Jair Brown does. But Jair Brown doesn't. I feel like Huff has always been more of a guy that can be a playmaker and make some things happen on defense, cause turnovers, that kind of thing. And then Greenlaw possibly playing against the Rams. I mean, those two guys. I'll ask you guys about Greenlaw. I'll start with Al. Like, how do you feel about that? Are you excited that Greenlaw could return? Do you want him to return? Would you rather they sit him and bring him back next year? Like, how are you feeling? I mean, are you think the Niners are as gung-ho and really believe that he can give them some sort of pep for the last 4 games to try to get them into the playoffs? Or do you think they should sit him?
I don't know. I think they've been so conservative with players that if he's able to go, he's going to play. I'm sure they'll ease him back, unlike what they did with McCaffrey, because Shanahan just wants to punish running backs severely. But I think I'm excited to see him play, and I'm hoping it is Thursday. And just going to echo what Kittle said about the speech from Brock and Demo. It's desperation time, right? Especially the Rams game. This is essentially a win or go home, even though they got 3 games after that. And if Greenlaw is some sort of the emotional catalyst that can help them rise up and get this victory, and maybe it carries over to Miami, and now you're putting pressure on Seattle and Arizona and if he could be a spark that gets this defense continuing to play close to what they did against the Bears, against a Rams team that beat them once with nobody on offense and just came off beating the Bills, then I'm excited to see what he can do. Now, naturally, he'll come out and play on the first drive. He'll get a 15-yard personal foul for acting like a wild man. But I think the emotional, like Willis Reed of the Knicks running onto the court I think they need that for the type of game this is and what the game could mean to keep their playoff hopes alive. So if he's ready to go and he can even play half the snaps, whatever his snap count's going to be, I think the defense need the juice.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we need him. I'm not very excited about him coming back just because third time I'm gonna say it, I'm worried about injuries. It's scary seeing a guy that came off an Achilles injury in the Super Bowl come into such a big game. That's why I hope they do, lower his snap count because, you can't just throw a guy in a huge game like that and expect him to be 100%. He's missed a lot of time. But what I am excited about is him complimenting Warner because there hasn't been anybody to do that this whole season. D Winters showed flashes last game. Campbell has been a little better playing, on the outside linebacker spot, but Greenlaw is that guy that complements Fred Warner every year. That two tandem right there is scary, and teams see that and they have to game plan around that because, those two guys can make big plays. And Greenlaw, what I love about him is he does scare offenses. Even if he makes a stupid play here and there, that offense is going to watch out for him, just like the Super Bowl. I mean, once he got out, we were screwed, so I'm glad he's here for this game because if we're going to make a run, go for it. If you go for it, if you're going to do it, go for it and put Greenlaw in. But just, I just hope nothing crazy happens. I hope he has a few tackles here and there. I don't think he's going to have a great game. But it's definitely going to help Fred Warner because Fred Warner's not 100%. So,
and Campbell's played well the past month plus, right?
Yeah.
Early on the season, all of us were on him. He looks old. He looks washed. I mean, he still doesn't look like a spring chicken, but he feels like he's settled into the defense more so from beginning of November on than the first 2 months of the season. So he's not a liability anymore. So, I think it's just Greenlaw's presence. Like if he's active and he plays somewhere between 10 and 20 snaps, I'm just making up a number. The team seeing him out there for those 10 or 20 snaps, I'm sure he'll make some plays. It's not like he's going to be a wild liability. I don't think they would ever put him out there if he can't move, right? He would have to be close to what he was for it to even be worth it. Otherwise, you're compromising your defense, right? You're only as strong as your weakest link. But I just think his presence, like what he would say in the huddle on those 10 or 20 plays that he's out there on the sidelines with guys in uniform, in your helmet, being different than being in street clothes. I think that could just mean so much emotionally to the team that's had so much that's sucked the emotion out, from the jump, from gunshots and injuries and children stuff. And like they need something uplifting. Like what if they actually had that's been uplifting for them? Like if you want to call each of their 6 wins uplifting, that's great. But a lot of these players have had something that has had happened to them that's adversely affected them, that this is the other side of the coin, the positive side. And they haven't had that from any player. Pearsall coming back did, but then, where's that production been really? So, again, it's all about the emotion, all about the juice. And I'm excited to see it. What the heck? Is he going to be the difference? Is his play going to be the difference for why they win or lose the game? I don't think so. But I think his aura, his appearance, I think just going to mean more like, inside for the players.
They asked Warner after this past game how he felt about it, and he was emotional, not like crying, but like he said it means a lot. That's his dude, man. Like when those two play together and they're playing well, that's the best linebacker duo in the NFL, and it's not even close.
Yeah,
I think Warner needs. They're like Batman and Robin, salt and pepper, chocolate and vanilla, peanut butter and jelly, whatever you want. They just go together. They play off of each other. Warner is the consummate professional. Dre Greenlaw is the the wild card, the guy that takes the personal foul charge or takes a hack at the big man as he's coming down the hole and gets into a fight and gets a technical. He's that guy. He's that Draymond Green of the 49ers defense.
Exactly.
The Niners haven't had an identity on defense all year. Greenlaw is that identity. I just worry, because I'm a worrier, that he can get re-injured or has a setback, and then we're going into the 2025 season with the same problem again at linebacker come July. And I don't want to deal with that, because I think they're going to re-sign him. I think there's no way you let him walk.
You can't.
I'm sorry, Devondre Campbell, D. Winters have not shown enough, or Tatum Bethune, or any of these guys have shown enough that you could say, yeah, I'm comfortable moving on from Dre Greenlaw. I don't see it. I think it helps the Niners that he was hurt. I feel like they might get a better deal, a more affordable deal. I don't know if you think that, Al, if the Niners, because of what's happened to, they might, the deal might be a little bit more team friendly than what it would have been beforehand. I don't know, but I want him back, because every game from the Niners here on out is a playoff game until they're eliminated. They keep winning, there's a chance they get into the playoffs. If they lose, then you can say, okay, now we got to start thinking about snaps and bringing young guys in and seeing what we have and all that happy horse crap. But I'm a little bit on the fence at how I feel about Greenlaw. I love Greenlaw as a player. I think you're right. After he went down the Super Bowl, it was a wrap.
It was over. I think you're right. He's just the presence we need right now. It really is. That's the thing about this offseason, though. Who are we going to re-sign? Because there's a few that we need to re-sign, but they're not all going to get re-signed.
No.
It's scary to think about, but that's when we get some draft picks. That's when we get a free agent. I hope this offseason, not only do we get good draft picks, but we get that signing of that guy that's just going to make a difference on the team. Because I don't think we've had one of those in a long time, where there's just a guy we sign that's like, boom, he's like already part of the team,
When we got when we got D Ford, the 2019 season, before we knew how much the Niners got duped in that trade, it was electric to start. That pass rush was wow.
Unbelievable.
They even had Ronnie Blair coming off, DJ Jones on that defense. That was an incredible pass rush. But D Ford was he was put together by tape and bubblegum at that point.
He was
and eventually the tape and the bubblegum, fell apart, and so did he.
In terms of the big free agent stuff, it was Ward two seasons ago, right? I mean, he had a pretty good first year, second team All-Pro last year, and obviously the tragedy and trying to get back, I guess, into game shape this season. But they signed Demo, so he's gone. And then last year it was Javon Hargrave. And I think maybe after the first year, they thought they were going to get a little bit more out of him. And then obviously he gets hurt this season. And I think if he wants to return, I think they ask him to massively rework his contract. Otherwise, that $20 million they can save by cutting him June 2nd can go towards 2 or 3 other players, right? I'm not saying Malik Collins is better than him. I'm not saying Jordan Elliott is, or Evan Anderson, or they're probably going to bring, if Hargrave goes, they're probably going to draft a D tackle, which they should, and a DN, which they should, and probably bring in a $2-3 million a year. I'm just making up numbers, D tackle outside of free agency, and try to go with strength in numbers type of thing. I mean, the big swing this year in terms of, you're talking about, it's not really free agency, is going to be paying Brock, right? He's going to get paid. People out there that actually think,
he's getting paid. That was a report from Ian Rappaport. He's getting paid.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that was a story, my sources say that it is confirmed that Brock's the guy. When was he not the guy?
Yeah.
Was he not the guy last year when he was an MVP finalist, when he broke Niner records for passing? Was he not the guy when he went 7-0 his rookie year before blowing out his UCL? The one thing I wanted to mention, it was so absurd. There was a lot of good football on Saturday, the college football playoff stuff or conference championships. And Saturday during the games, Sunday before the Niner game, and Sunday after the Niner game, people were still far too many. And far too many means more than one, but we're talking in the dozens, Niners should be drafting a quarterback in the first or second round.
Right.
And of course, it's the cone clown clique, people that are dropping their knees,
So
to suck at the fountains of some of these people. And the person that's grabbing a lot of people's attention is Penn State's quarterback, Drew Allar. And, going out, they're going to draft him. They should draft him in the first or second round. And somebody caught my attention where I said, dude, do you think and I hate conversing with people on Twitter because it's the lowest of the low. Like, do you think that the Niners have more pressing needs in the first or second round other than a quarterback, like a tackle, a D tackle, a D end? Like, well, quarterback's the most important position. You draft him and you sit him behind Brock for a year and then everything's going to be okay. And at that point I said, okay, how about this, dude? How about this? Why don't you put your money where your mouth is? I'll bet you that if the Niners draft a quarterback in the first or second round, I deactivate my Twitter account. But if the Niners don't, you deactivate yours. And the response is, well, I'm not saying they're going to draft them, that they just should draft them. And I'm like, dude, like what you should think the Niners do should align with what they actually do, because we live in this place called reality, not this like stupid. And of course, it was only because, he was in the thread of one of the cone click monsters that loves big, strong quarterbacks, that really has a hard on for Josh Allen. There's still folks that think this, and I just had to get that one out there just because it bothered me. Not that it bothered me. It was so sad that people think this way, but most of the money is going to go towards Brock, not all of it. And listen, I'm surprised they brought in Floyd and Yator for $10 million each. So I'm sure they're going to they have to bring in free agents. They have to. It's just a matter of like, are there going to be any big ticket ones?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I want to hear, there's a great statistic that was on X last night from Eric Branch. It says Brock Purdy now has 6 career games with a rating of 140 plus, passing Ed Brown and Frank Fitchcock for the most in NFL history in a player's first 3 seasons.
Yeah. Another stat that proves that he's a good quarterback. People don't want to look at it.
Because listen, everybody is blinded how great Josh Allen is, Lamar. But like I've told people, there's 28 teams that don't have that guy.
Right.
And the best you can do is build around them. Oh, you have to build pieces around him in order to win. So what? Why is it an indictment on somebody? So what if you have
easier? That's easier than getting a whole new quarterback and redoing everything.
Like when is listen, man, the 2017 Eagles had also ran as a quarterback and they won a championship with him. Brad Johnson was an also ran quarterback and they won a Super Bowl with him. It's not saying that the Niners are guaranteed that they're going to do that, but like this whole thing, if you don't got the guy that you got to keep gutting this thing, you can't run a franchise like that.
No, well, and I think this is where your GMs and your scouts actually make money, right? Like they prove their worth. If you're going to have a team with high priced players and giving money to, 50 plus million to your quarterback, then you got to hit on your draft picks. You have to make smart free agent decisions, bringing people in that can complement your team. And obviously work within the cap. And granted, I'm a Mets fan, although I'm not like a Niner fan. And great, they outbid the Yankees for Juan Soto. Okay, that's fine. But there's still always that thought in the back of my mind of like, how good of a GM really is Brian Cashman? When you can throw unlimited money for your first 15 years at every free agent, how good are you really? You know who the good GMs are? Baltimore Orioles, the Rays, teams that have no money, and you have to stitch together a team based on your scouts and AA, AAA, free agency, bargain basement stuff, and have the right pieces fit together. Yeah, the Niners have paid McCaffrey and Bosa. They're going to pay Brock. They've paid Warner. They're going to probably extend Kittle. Yet now you got to make hay, guys. Now you have to find those diamonds in the rough. Now you have to find reasonably priced free agents. And of course it can be done. Otherwise, any team that has a high-priced quarterback, all of them would be shit. And they're not. The Bills are still good. The Ravens are still good. The Chiefs are, I know there's coaching and other skill position players, but people want to wave the white flag immediately because, you can't pay a quarterback because the rest of your team goes to shit. Yes, but you just have to be smart about the pieces you bring in. And it's possible to do.
Yep. Hopefully we get the Christian side of Brock, and he just is like, I'll go for 30 million. Hopefully, The
only time anyone will invoke God's name is, man, I don't believe in him, but Brock, Do what God would do.
Yeah,
What Jesus
do
would
what
do
God
it, and,
wants.
and
Yeah,
take
exactly.
a pay cut.
Real fast.
God doesn't want greed.
Go ahead.
Just because we're talking about religion, I'm just going to do a quick tangent to college football. And again, I'm not sure how much if you guys watch any of the college football conference championship games.
Not really.
All right.
No.
So my son's a Clemson fan. I'm not sure why. I think when Trevor Lawrence was there, but we were watching the Clemson SMU game. Great game. Obviously, Clemson was up big. SMU comes back, ties it. Clemson kicks a 57-yard field goal at the buzzer to win it. All right, awesome. Now, Clemson, Coach Dabo Sweeney, their quarterback, and someone else, a lot of them were bringing up the whole, like, this is God's work. God helped us through this. God this, God that. And like, anytime that's laughable, because that means that God didn't want the other team to win, right? Like, so it's always laughable. But I found it extra funny that most people were giving God praise. Most Clemson players, the coach and everything, were giving God praise after beating Southern Methodist University. Really?
Yeah.
Pretty sure there's things going on in the world
Probably
that if God had a list of importance, football's way down here.
Oh, yeah.
World hunger, poverty, racial injustice, anything.
Yeah.
And then football. Like, come on, people. Really? Like, if I understand when players kneel and pray for health.
Sure.
And pray for prosperity for each other to that all have good health. I get that part. But that he's somehow going to make the 49ers win a Super Bowl because the Chiefs are Satanists and they're evil. Like, come on, people. Yeah. It's not that complicated, and it's not that
but
important.
I'd rather hear Debo talking about thanking God than blaming everybody else for his problems. So I don't know. It's a good thing sometimes.
Well, at least he's not thanking God for his wardrobe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The money these players spend on their wardrobe and how ridiculous they look is just crazy to me.
Well, real fast with that. How many? I'm so surprised, and I'm not watching as many different football games now as I have in the past. Like, I'll wait till the Niner game's on. I might take a nap, listen to an audiobook from like
Same.
1, and then I'll, watch some of the
play
Sunday
around a
night
Call of
game,
Duty or something.
Monday night. But the number of NFL, and it's usually receivers. I hate to say, but folks during a game that are wearing necklaces that are like studded out with diamonds, like, you don't worry about that shit getting ripped off.
I know.
Like,
I don't get
why
that.
would you wear your jewelry during a game?
Didn't that happen with who was the wide receiver?
No, not Jefferson.
Somebody, and he
Jefferson
was going against I forget the corner that was. He was going against somebody in the comments knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Was it Crabtree, and who was the corner that stole his necklace? And there was like this big to do about it because he got his
during a
necklace ripped
game
off.
Or like in the locker room. You mean
during a game? I think he stole it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Come on, people, help me for the few of you that are in here. Help me with this one.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson's got like $1 million necklace on, like during the game. I'm like,
that stuff. I would have that stuff encrypted under lock and key with
That's crazy. Like, I don't get it. It's like, why? I get like
Chris Harris, Broncos. No, it was another corner from the Broncos that he was formerly of the Broncos that did it.
Champ
was it Champ? Was it Aqib Talib or Champ? One of those guys.
Aqib Talib, I think it was Aqib Talib.
Thank you. Yeah. Aqib Talib. There was this big thing where it was him, and I think it was Crabtree or whatever, but he ripped his necklace off during a game, and it cost a big old thing, man. It was, oh man. That was, dude. First of all, I'm not a jewelry guy.
No, me neither.
I don't look good with jewelry. I have to be careful of the things that I adorn myself with because it just makes me look silly. My nose kind of, that's enough jewelry for my face. I can. There's no need to put anything out. I got a big enough nose that no matter how nice my jewelry was, people are going to still be like, God, he's got a huge nose. But that's hilarious. Why would you wear jewelry on the football field?
Yeah, I don't know. I had to give crap to my Bears friend when their quarterback painted his nails. So, I don't know.
Can we all agree? Can we all agree that I know we've kind of already touched on this. Can we all agree that Juwan Jennings looks like the number one receiver on this team? And
Oh,
it's close. I mean, just based on how he's been playing.
Not
This
even
man is
close.
a 7th round pick, and he's got like a 4.7 40. He looks like the number one receiver on this team. Him and Kittle. God, if something was to happen to those two, I don't know what the Niners would do. But man, it's that looked like all you needed yesterday in that game with how both of them were playing. I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts real quick.
No,
Well, yeah, I mean,
go ahead, James.
I mean, it's just crazy that this goes back to the Purdy thing too. Every year, another player develops under Purdy, and Juwan Jennings is that guy this year. Juwan is playing out of his mind. A guy that was our 3rd or 4th string wide receiver is now basically our 1st string. And the fact that he doesn't only catch the ball 90% of the time, but he gets downfield when he gets the ball is amazing. The guy will not go down when he gets the ball. Last year he was 3rd in Juwan. Now he's just every down in Juwan because the guy can do everything. I mean, you would have never expected it. I remember when we got him and I was like, who is this guy? He's 6'3", like over 220 pounds. Like, how is he going to be a wide receiver? They should just move him to tight end. And,
because the Niners don't usually go after big receivers. They're more of a, like every time we draft a guy, I'm always like, he's small. He's small. He's small.
Yeah.
But it's all about route running and getting separation. That's what Kyle's all about, the route running and separation, which is funny because he tends to have an issue finding receivers that are good with route running and separation, even though that's what he looks for all the time. And you get the guy who's the slowest of the bunch and is the best out of the bunch.
Well, he's developing, he's developing as a wide receiver. It just
proves that the receivers can develop in the National Football League.
Yeah.
That people need to stop being like, there's this one guy on TikTok. I think his name is Sack Francisco. He's a 49er TikToker. He's like, so-and-so's a bust. He's a bust. He's a bust. He's all like, just so angry that the 49ers drafted Pearsall over an offensive tackle. And he just unloads on the poor kid. And I'm like, do you not remember what happened? Like early in the season? To me, this season's a wash.
Yeah.
I don't even count this season for that kid.
Yeah.
I'm just glad he's alive. You know what I mean? Like, who cares about football, man? It ain't that important, bro. Sitting there and freaking making all your content about how much you hate the fact that he's a bust. Bust is a word that people just throw around so easily. Like, he's a bust. He's a bust. Now, like, there's some guys that are certified busts. But, like, we can't say that about Caleb, the quarterback of the Bears yet, because he's part of a horrible franchise. They're horrible. They're absolutely atrocious as a organization. So let's wait on that one. Troy Aikman wasn't good for the first 3 years in the NFL. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until Jimmy Johnson got there and did what he had to do and brought in Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin and what is his name? Who's the other receiver? Michael Irvin,
Alvin Harper,
and they had the tight end. Like, they had to build that thing around this guy.
And he traded Herschel Walker, which got all that stuff rolling to the.
It's funny that Herschel Walker actually ended up coming back to the Cowboys in the late 90s.
Yep.
He made his way back, which is crazy. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm a big Juwan Jennings guy. Like, he's my dude.
I'm so happy to be wrong about him. Like, I was worried that when they gave him the extension that it was too much based on his production. When it was Debo and Ayuk obviously getting the attention, and Kittle and Jennings, I think probably didn't have more than like 30 catches in any of his first 3 years.
Yeah.
What he's done, he's the number one receiver on the team, either out of necessity or because he just took it and wanted it. And I just had to quickly look up the stats. 57 for 774 and 6 touchdowns. He's got a really good chance of going over 1,000. Yeah. I never would have thought going into the season, if someone said, you think Juwan Jennings will have 1,000 yards in his Niner career? Like, no. One, he's playing behind Debo and Ayuk. Even if one of those gets hurt, I don't think he's an outside receiver. He's just a big slot. I am so happy to have been proven wrong by him.
Me too.
Now I just worry, is he going to get the big head or the ego next year going into his contract year being like, I ain't stepping on the field until you give me a contract. And then they have to worry about what the hell do you do with him and what do you do with Debo. But good for him, man. Self-made. First year on the practice squad. Had a case of the dropsies. big guy, but not fast, has gotten become a better route runner, gotten better hands. And he's going to be, if things persist, he and Kittle are going to be the 2,000-yard receivers on this team. And Debo, where is he at right now? I just have the tab pulled up. Wrong tab, naturally. Debo's at 553. Debo might get to 750 if things break well for him. So good on Juwan, man. And the energy, the excitement, like, you got to feel happy for the game. They kept replaying when he got drafted, and he was on the video phone with John Lynch. And he was like all excited, almost crying. Like, there's no entitlement there. And you gotta rally around those types of people, which is still crazy to me why Purdy gets hate. How can you hate on someone that was the last pick of the draft?
I know.
Regardless of
like,
how
aren't you a fan of the team?
It's like people forgot that. It's like the guy was last pick of the draft.
He's Rudy.
He's undersized. He's not fast. All this crap. And look at him. He goes to the Super Bowl his second freaking year.
They were going to go in their first year if he doesn't get hurt. I think they would have beat Philly in that game. I thought their defense looked good against Philly in that game. The Niners had a really good chance to beat the Eagles in that NFC Championship game.
For the third season, sorry.
Yeah.
There's just, this fan base is so focused on always wanting to have some sort of narrative being pushed instead of just enjoying exactly what's happening on the field on a day or a year-to-year or game-to-game basis. It's unnerving.
Just talking about the fan base, did you guys see that Charvarius Ward deactivated his Twitter account because so many fans were getting on him?
There was a tweet yesterday by someone who I respect, but he should not have tweeted what he tweeted. He pretty much made a tweet that said, I know what's going on with his kids or whatever, but he's just been horrible this year and he needs to be gone or something like that. I'm just like,
horrible.
Why, dude? Why even invoke his children? Like, don't say anything.
Those are the people who need to get slapped in the face. You know, I just can't.
And this is someone that I respect a lot. I don't know if he was just letting his emotions get the boat. That's why I try to stay off X, because sometimes you tweet stuff that you don't mean.
Yeah.
And then you end up looking like a fool. But to double down on it, it makes you look even worse. Like, who gives a fuck about football, bro? Nobody cares. A guy's kid literally passed away after being alive a year. And he had to say goodbye to his child, and then he's got to go and play on the football field in Buffalo in the snow.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, saying it is just a dick move. I mean, Ward's not going to be. There's 4 more games of Charvarius Ward, however people want to feel about him, and there should be some grace given for sure. But they signed Demo; they're not going to re-sign him. But for whoever said that or whoever thinks that, and it wasn't just one person. I'm sure he was getting it from all angles, right? Because people are vicious. Is Isaac Yiadom the solution? If someone's saying get Charvarius Ward out of there, then okay, who are you replacing him with? He's not performing the way he has in the past. I mean, I think we all can kind of see that, and there's reasons why, right? I mean, he hasn't played in a while, so he's still getting into game shape, but you can't, just like when anyone says, oh, get rid of Kyle, get rid of Robert Sala. I don't care who you bring in, just bring in anybody. Don't tell me you want to get rid of someone. Tell me what your plan is.
Yeah, like the people that say, when it comes to when people vote for who's president, I'm just going to vote for the guy with the lesser of two evils. Like, that's not a plan. Like,
that's not a plan at all.
What is your plan? Like, what are you going to do? Yeah. Oh, I said, you bring in Ben Johnson and he doesn't win a championship, and Kyle is automatically, because he's going to be successful wherever he goes.
Yeah.
Because he's going to get a boatload. He's probably going to go to a place that would have a boatload of money and ability to get free agents, and they're probably going to have a good draft place in the draft. And all of a sudden, we're all going to be looking like the guy you gave, like the give up on the girlfriend, and then she ends up getting, with somebody else, and then you're standing there crying, watching her be with another guy or something like that, whatever. But like the 49er fans are so quick to be like, yeah, fire Kyle and say, oh, bring in Ben Johnson. Remember, Eric Bieniemy was the hot candidate that everybody was saying, that's who the 49ers need to go and get. They got to get rid of Kyle. Go get Eric Bieniemy. Look what he's doing with the Chiefs. And it's like, is he really doing it with the Chiefs?
Well,
or
maybe fired.
He's
available. He got fired from UCLA's OC position, so he's available.
My take on Shanahan, but at the same time, I know there's nobody better than him. You know what I mean? Like, nobody that comes in is going to be like a improvement on Kyle. There's nobody. I'm not There's nobody unless we got freaking Reed. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe,
Reed, McVay, maybe from the
Reed.
Rams, I would take.
McVay,
Yeah, but that's it. So I don't know. People just saying, we got
Ain't
to
gonna be
flip
Belichick.
everything. Hey, Belichick, I guess, is back on the market, but
He might
I
go to
think he's-
college. He might go to be a college coach. Why would
that-
dude?
like why
Live
why
your
can't
life
people
with your
just retire?
24-year-old girlfriend and
Why
all your
can't you
money
just
and
retire? Yeah.
yeah, just disappear. What are you doing?
If I was him, I'd be like, I'm gonna go Bermuda and freaking hang out with my 24-year-old girlfriend, and it's like, what do you? I don't get it. It's like he must have like a
I don't want to say his name on here,
addiction or
Terradome. Yeah, I'll DM you on X.
Yeah.
I don't want to say his name on here. I'm not trying. It was an off. Like you just don't tweet it, bro.
You can't tear down a player like that.
You tear down a player, and then when somebody brings the fact that something just happened, you're like, well, yeah, that's bad, but still, he's no. Like, don't compound your mistake by. It's like, just delete it, bro, or never have said it in the first place. Like, oh boy, it was rough.
Keyboard warriors.
Yeah, keyboard warriors are people on YouTube who hide behind a camera because you never have to press them. You'll never get the chance to press them in real life to see how tough they really are when they're not sitting in front of a microphone.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know what this plan is for streaming this week because we got the Rams on Thursday. But what do you got going on in the channel there, Al? I know you posted a video. Did you do a live stream today or a video?
No, I've yet to do a live stream. I always just do it like a video, turn the audio into a podcast, and then
Audio into a podcast. Yep,
throw it
what
up
I
on
used to do.
I did it last night, which is just recapping the Bears game, some thoughts there, and I think probably tomorrow night I will do like my look ahead to the Rams, and then probably do another one on Friday, which would be the recap, and then give myself maybe like a nice 4 or 5 days until maybe like Wednesday, and then do another one. But yeah.
Yeah, it's I'll be hopefully live tomorrow with Bashar, 49er minded at 10 p.m. I wish I could go on earlier. It's just so late. 10 p.m. is it's a drag to go on that late. Me and Raj usually the plan is for Wednesday, but I don't know what the plan is going to be this week. Maybe another combo stream. But yeah, it's we're still in it, guys, until we're not in it.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
who knows?
I'm going to be working on my YouTube too because I've been working like crazy. This is my 8th day straight tomorrow, so I haven't had any time to do anything. So next week I have Thursday and Friday off, so I think I'm going to work on my profile and just getting more followers, all that stuff that I haven't done yet. So to be continued.
Nice.
You say it's past my bedtime. Technically, yeah. I mean, I'm getting kind of old, guys. I turned 45 on Saturday, man. So
yeah, I'm 33. I'm younger than
early
you guys.
Birthday.
Thank you.
33?
Yeah.
Oh my God,
God bless.
Yeah. I'm halfway to 50 starting on Saturday. The countdown begins. I'm on the wrong side of 40 on Saturday. I can't believe it.
There's no right side of 40. I don't know.
Right.
I don't think there's the right side.
Here's 45, and then it just goes all downhill. So,
yep.
But hey, guys, everybody who actually showed up, I know it was kind of I don't know, whatever. But we appreciate you for all of you who actually came in and commented.
Thank you all.
We will see you guys next Monday, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully talking about maybe like a 49er recap of the Rams game, hopefully a victory. Or we'll be talking early off-season predictions of what are we going to have to do to get this team back on track. But until then, everyone, take care.
Peace.
See you guys.
Peace.